So we're going to go into Lightbox, we're going to go into our default cube, and we're just going to double click. When we do that, it's asking if we want to save this project. So if you don't save, this is gone. If you want to save it, then press yes and save. In my case, I don't want to save it. We're going to redo all of that. So in the previous example, you saw I took a sphere, I pulled out the head, and then I started to use the clay buildup brush to start to cut out and refine form. I used move to pull the nose out, and then went from there. Let's look at an entirely different approach to building form, and let's think for a second that we're carving into marble. And what we want to do is we just want to cut and then start to trim and start to define the overall planes as though we're with a chainsaw cutting into wood. So I'm going to show you a cool trick for doing that, but I'm also going to show you one of the limitations for it. So I'm going to turn perspective off to get started here. And then I come into my brush, and I'm going to go to the clip curve brush. The clip curve brush gives you a warning. It's part of this whole selection brush set. The selection brush set is all about Control plus Shift. That's how you activate them. So this is telling me, look, you're changing the default. So whenever you press Control and Shift, you're going to get a different brush. And that's this guy. Now, what's important about this guy is that there are two sides, and you can tell by this gradient. Okay, if the gradient is on this side, that means that all of this is going to get cut. It's just going to go completely away. And I have symmetry on, so both sides go. But let me show a little trick. Let's do that in green. 1, 2, 3, 4. The head we know. This width is roughly 3/4 the height. So a cool trick is just turn this on, and we know we're going to cut here and here. The geometry helps tell me. Now another cool thing about this is you press Control Shift, you drag out, and then you press the space bar, and you can move it. This is very advanced, what I'm doing right now with you. And this really gives you a bit of a preview of how complicated the interface can get. I press Control Shift, I drag this thing out, and then while Control Shift are pressed, I have to reach over with my index finger and then press the space bar. So it's like I'm doing a Vulcan death grip on my keyboard. It's quite complicated for my hands. But it's really cool because it cuts through the model. And this is one of the things that ZBrush really wants to be able to do, is give you these really expansive brushes that let you cut, sculpt, do all of this stuff. We can look at it from a top view, and same thing, trim, trim, like that. We can cut off a little bit there. But be careful so you don't accidentally do this. You have to drag from one direction to another properly. And then one more really odd thing is if you release Shift, so we press Control Shift, then we release Shift, I now can move that freer. A little bit on the crazy side. Whoops. Now, for those of you who are on the mechanical side of things, using this other method of establishing form can be quite nice. Because now I have a base mesh with some decent proportions. I can go in with clay buildup. The face is already kind of established. I just have to build up a little bit in some areas or start to tweak it in other ways. But this is technically another way to block in your model using this clip curve brush. And then building form back up with clay buildup. But what do you think of this method? Now that you saw me kind of implement this, what do you think of using clip curve? Have you tried that before? Give me a shout out if you've tried using clip curve before. What are the problems that you might have experienced with it? So Christina, you say you've experimented with it. Has it worked